Have you ever found yourself working at something that feels like it took you forever and you realize you'd only been doing it for a minute? Or the alternative, have you ever spent hours, say, with a loved one, maybe a new love, and you felt like it was only 5 minutes?
Yes.
Time is weird. It's interesting. And it's a topic that I cannot get enough of. And today on the episode, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of Einstein time and share some secrets of how I live my best life by tapping in and out of Einstein time. So buckle up. This is a good one. Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
and Monique,
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
In each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique. Today's topic is something that is kind of an interesting one. It's about Einstein's time. And Mariah has been talking about this and using this concept idea in her life. And I'm really curious and interested to hear more. So she has decided to share her wisdom with us today. So please, Mariah, take the floor.
Thanks, Monique. I'm talking about one of my favorite topics today, increasingly all the time, is this concept of Einstein time, which for anyone who knows me, I wouldn't say that I lead the most scientific life, but this has really become a mantra of mine. And it goes back to a small book that you and I both love called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and we'll link to that book in the show notes. It is just a wealth of information, or wealth of, insight and knowledge and aha moments in this small little book. Reread it every single year. I always get something new from it.
New nuggets every time.
Absolutely. But the one that has repeatedly, every time I revisit it, is his chapter on living on Einstein time. And I remember the first time reading through it, kind of thinking, oh, that's interesting. And then little by little, just really embracing this concept. So recently I was actually asked to do a talk to a group about time management. So it was the theme of the day was time management. And I was delighted to have the opportunity to share this with an audience.
Yes.
And to continue to lean into this lifestyle. So leading up to that talk, and I kind of want to start with this, I had a girls' trip with my friends in New York City, very fast-paced location. And I went into the weekend thinking about this talk because it was due a couple days after I got back, or I was going to be giving it. And I decided to sort of use it as an experiment. So let me step backwards. We're going to pause here, come back to the trip.
We're going to go back in time.
Go back in time. So here's the deal. Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, that had in his theories, scientific theories, stated that time was absolute. There was only so much time.
24 hours?
That's just it. It's just time is finite, absolute. Einstein later came with his theories and proposed, and again, you can go much more depth on this, but as a high concept, the time is in fact relative. So it's the relativity of time
Okay.
that is this concept that I apply in Einstein time.
Okay. Expand on this, please.
Yeah,
I'm on like
yeah.
as someone who like is time minute by minute, second by second. I need more, please.
So I want you to think about the universe, the galaxy.
I'm out there.
All
Got
of the
you.
stars in the universe. In Einstein's world, each one of these stars is in its own orbit. It is burning at its own speed, and they are all relative to each other.
Okay.
But each star, if we represent it as each human,
Yes.
each individual, each soul,
Yes.
we are all burning on our own time.
Oh.
It is not finite and absolute. It's all relative to everything else happening in the universe. So
the connectivity, you mean, is
we are connected, but at the end of the day, each star is unique.
okay.
Each human is unique.
Thank you.
Every one of us is living our unique journey in the atmosphere,
Okay.
in the galaxy. So it was actually my husband, as I was pitching this to him.
Yeah.
I
I
had
want to
a
know.
lot of fun with the science side of it.
I
So
bet he did.
that was good for me.
He nerded out on you.
But most people live in Newtonian time. They live with
Yes.
time as an absolute.
Yes.
I only have so much. I only have 24
Deadlines.
hours. I only have so many months. I only have I have to choose one thing over the next because of time. It's rigid, it's scheduled, and therefore it's rooted in scarcity.
Oh,
And
so
themes with
yes.
me, scarcity and abundance come up all of the time.
Yes.
So Einstein time revolves around the creation of time in the universe is relative and is abundant and it is never ending
Okay.
and it is all you. You are time. You create your time. It is not all of the other forces around you. You have the ability to choose and create time for yourself. It's a mindset shift. So it's a mindset shift
Definitely.
to train yourself from Newtonian time, where the words that you use, the actions that you take, everything that you do is rooted in scarcity.
Yes.
And in an absolute finite amount.
Okay.
That in any day, I have only this much.
Yes.
When you change your brain and begin to adopt a lifestyle in Einstein time, you're recognizing that you are the source of time. How you choose to pass it is only chosen by you. So think about it this way, and how time feels and how it flows. Okay. So when you have to do something and you're thinking about it in a Newtonian way, or you're looking at it purely in a scarce form. So say, this is an example from the book. You put your hand on a hot stove. What is your relationship with time to your burning hand?
Get it off as soon as you can. Ow.
Ow, right? Right. It's like you are so present in how much time it's taking, right?
It feels like an eternity.
And then put yourself, and it feels like an eternity in a brief moment, right?
Yes.
So
Right.
already your relationship and notion to that time, it might be 10 seconds, but it
Yes.
felt like an eternity.
Yes.
Okay. Now I want you to put yourself in a new relationship, or you're on like the best first date ever, and you realize that you've been with this person for 12 hours.
Yes.
And it feels like 5 minutes.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
was because you were in a place that you wanted to be. You expanded time and you spent 12 hours and it felt like 5 minutes.
We have had this before. Yes, we have experienced this before.
Suddenly
Right.
you're like, I feel that, right?
Right.
And we have done this together,
Yes.
100%.
Yes, right.
So we're going to go back to the girls' trip.
Yes, yes,
okay?
yes.
So I'm traveling, and traveling brings a lot of like time topics up, right? It's like,
Oh, yes. I mean, you're
getting
so
to
bound
the
by time.
airport.
Yes.
Yes. Or you think you're bound by time,
Yes.
right? We are
Yes.
Newtonian time trained to be bound by time.
Yes.
Okay. So we have to get up early in the morning to go to the airport.
Oh,
Flight's
gosh.
at like
The crack of
5:45
frickin' dawn,
a.m.
right.
And I just, the night before, I said to myself, and I said to my friend that we were flying together, you're going to think this sounds wild and crazy, but I'm going to introduce you to a new concept of time.
And she's
I
like,
would
"Wait,
like to
what?"
invite you to live in Einstein time with me. And for the next several days of our trip, I'm going to remind you as we go that we're living on Einstein time. And I want
Okay.
you to see how this feels.
Did it blow her mind?
Oh, it blew everybody's mind.
I bet it did. Okay, but keep going. Because like you
So-
said, fast-paced New York City.
Yeah. And so we going to the airport first thing in the morning, got out the door. I just, I didn't think about how, in that moment from we left, we have X number of minutes to get to the airport to go through security. I did not begin my anxious measurement of a finite amount of time between
Yes.
that point and the flight, right? Because I can only control how I feel in my relationship to time in that very single-tary moment.
Well, just to interject here, not to try to get you off your story, but
Yep.
like so many of us struggle with the anxiety of not doing the things with time.
Oh, this
If
is
time doesn't exist, that whole level of anxiety goes away.
goes away. So what I'm
Freedom
talking about
101.
today is truly
Freedom.
it's a somewhat cure of anxiety
It's a
or
gift.
things that give anxiety.
Yes.
So I just said, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to get in the car and we're going to drive the car. And when we get to the airport, we're going to go through the steps at the airport. But what could happen between that point and getting to the airport? It's not up to me.
No.
Right? I don't know what's going
Right.
to happen. So all I do know is that while we're driving in the car, we're going to get excited about the trip and we're going to focus on joy and we're going to be in the zone. We're going to be
flow.
living in flow.
Yeah.
We're going to not focus on our anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lovely drive to the airport. We sail into a parking spot. We go and you've been in these places, right? Where you know how it feels differently from one
Yes.
airport trip to the next.
Versus
And and I'm just like I'm just channeling the positive vibes, right? I'm just channeling. We have plenty of time.
yeah, time is
And
irrelevant.
lo and behold, we arrive at the airport. There are no lines. This never happens first thing in the morning.
no.
There are no lines. There's no security line.
What?
Really? And this is a big,
Who needs
big city
pre-check?
airport. In fact, my friend had pre-check. I didn't. She didn't even get out of it more than seconds before me. Like I just in the flow.
Yeah.
And she's in it with me at this point. And so we flow through security. Like I don't even know. It was amazing. I had no anxiety. And again, I don't think that what this was a magical elimination of all the other people at the airport at that time.
Right.
But that in the present moment of what we were dealing with, whatever it would have happened to be, I just had a innate confidence there would be enough time. Because what was the next case scenario? We miss our flight. Okay. Well, we weren't supposed to go on it, right? So just adopting that mindset.
Yes.
Like what will happen will be what was meant to be.
Yes.
And the only thing I can control is how I feel right now.
Right.
And we cruised on to our gate, and lo and behold, there was an amazing donut place across from our gate. That was divine.
donuts.
And we had time to like get our donut, and then we walked over and they started boarding the plane and we got on. So it was just like this amazing series of events. And she's starting to feel a little bit like, well, that really worked out.
Right. But I mean, that's coincidental. I mean, some people who are skeptical. I'm playing
Yeah,
devil's
I love
advocate
it.
here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Like some things really are coincidental.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
But I also think that they're how they're perceived, right?
I agree.
I could have gone into that same scenario,
Like this,
driving
hands on the wheel, white knuckles.
white knuckle, driving at 3 a.m.
Right.
to an airport. I could have stressfully gotten myself through the gate, missed the fact that there was a donut shop. I mean,
Right.
could have gone other ways. So we get to New York City and friends that we're meeting pick us up and we're driving through New York City traffic. Yay. And my friend did a phenomenal job. Like that is just a whole other special animal.
It's a special talent.
And I immediately could hear the Newtonian thoughts and comments coming
From your friends?
from my friends
Okay.
about how much time it was going to take. Would we
Right.
get there
We
in
got to
time?
be down to this minute, and if we don't
And
get there by this time,
sorry that this is
right.
this is traffic is here. And I said, I just took that moment right away when we got in the car to say, hey, I want to introduce you to a new concept that I started yesterday for this trip, and I'm gonna bring you into the fold. So I'm telling about it, and I'm like, just bear with me. Let's go. Let's go along. And,
yeah, have
and
faith.
honestly, even just the conversation got us off the topic of this drive being incredibly stressful.
Yes.
Instead, it was an extra 45 minutes with us contained in the car to catch up,
Girl time.
to have girl time,
Yep.
to tell stories, to, get excited about the weekend ahead. And so kind of flip the narrative, flip the script on these confines. So we get to the hotel, we start talking about where to go for lunch, and it immediately became this Newtonian notion of, well, we don't have a reservation there, and there might be a long line, and we can't,
Can't.
we can't do this. And I said, hold up. Does the thing is this restaurant that we're considering going to have potential to bring us great joy? I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Let's walk over there and see how that works out. Let's decide.
Let's try.
That for us,
Yes.
this is the thing that has the most potential to bring us joy in the moment. Let's walk over there. So we did. It wasn't far away. We walk in. Initial thought, there's going to be a line. No, don't do it. Don't sync this right now with Newtonian thinking. We look at the hostess, and she says, well, we don't have any tables available, but there are these 4 seats at the bar. And it was like the light.
Yeah, right. Like,
and it was just like, yes, ma'am.
We'll take that.
We sailed onto the seats. The bartender came. We started ordering. And I could feel that in that moment, the whole crew, the 4 of us, just relaxed into, this is the cadence, the mentality that we are going to bring to the rest of this trip.
Sweet.
For 4 days.
Yes.
You
were in this cocoon.
Sailed
Yes.
through each moment of crazy New York City Times Square life, just stepping one place into the next in the perfect moment.
So what you're saying is, it is possible in arguably one of the most Newtonian places in the world,
Yes.
New York City, to live and flow and vibe in this concept of Einstein time.
It's possible anywhere. Because if it is there,
Right,
then it's
that's
definitely
exactly right.
anywhere.
My point, yes.
And it's like you actually open up space in your brain to be enjoy and to enjoy what you're doing. It's this whole notion of present moment, which we've talked about before. And by shutting down the Newtonian side of your brain that is constantly
Logical,
measuring,
analytical,
analyzing,
yes.
And scarcely doling out your time, you expand your Einstein brain, which is saying you are existing on your own in this vast galaxy, and it's all relative to everyone else.
I have to interject because my brain, as you know, and I've described to you, thinks in pictures.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm thinking Newtonian time. It's a box. We all live in this box.
Yeah.
And what Einstein time is doing, and when you live in it, it's opening the lids of the box. The boxes, right?
There's no box.
Right. But to start, maybe just open,
if you're
open your
getting
lid.
there, as you're getting there, for
and
sure.
then realize, kind of like the Matrix, the box is the illusion.
Yes.
Right? Like the box really doesn't exist. We thought it existed. We thought it's where we lived.
Yeah.
But it really actually isn't there. It's a self-placed paradigm.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. It's all relative.
Okay, second thought.
Okay, go.
Sorry.
Yes.
This
I
is
love
just
this.
sparking a lot of things for me. It's so interesting because think about this. Other things other than us humans who think we're so smart, sophisticated.
So evolved.
I mean,
Yes.
we are. Are we not the most evolved thing on the...
Absolutely.
I mean, we think. Other things, species, whatever, do not think about time.
Yeah.
They
No,
simply, they don't ask the question, when do I need to, a snake, shed my skin? A star, I'm going to stress and worry about when the next phase of my evolutional, I don't know what stars do, expand, contract. I don't even know enough to know.
Yeah.
But they don't think about it. They simply do it.
Right.
So it's this concept of, I don't have to necessarily think. It's like I'm guided either by biology, by timing, by whatever the thing is to create or be who I'm supposed to be versus like I've got a structure plan.
Yes.
And I mean, we need structure and plan, but like honestly, it's that simple, kind of. It's kind of getting back to our roots of just being who we are meant to be.
It's pretty
deep.
It's pretty
Sorry,
deep.
deep
No,
tracks.
you are absolutely like along the right track in thinking about how this relates to the universe.
Right.
And it's something that you have to do all the time. You have to make the switch all the time.
Yeah.
Because as humans,
I could see that.
and as raised in our culture, as Americans, as women, you know, all of the different things, like we
The
have
hats we
been
wear.
put in more boxes, boxes.
Yes.
And so I can't just, you know, even though I'm all about this,
Yes.
I don't just naturally do it every day. I have to stop myself and think, I will make more time. So I am time. I control the time in my life. Only I can do that. I can choose where to spend my time. I don't have to have it put upon me by a Newtonian concept. So I'm going to use another example because I think this one really hits home. So, and this is how you can actually train your brain and begin to put this practice
To
into
go
your
into
everyday
intentionality,
life.
right?
And to take control of time.
Okay.
Versus give up control.
Okay.
So living on Einstein time is taking back control of the notion that time is out there. The time is
an outside resource.
An outside resource
Yes.
that is out of your control.
Okay.
You are time and where time comes from.
Okay.
Okay. So you have a small child, you're working on something in your office. They come into you and say, hey, can you play with me? 9 times out of 10,
So no.
adult's going to say,
Nope.
I don't have time right now.
Right.
I don't have time right now. Well, we're immediately putting into that child's head a Newtonian concept that time is measurable and there's only so much of it and there's not enough time, time
Yep.
for them, right? Think about it. If you said to the child, and you can put this in practice, I will make time for you, or you know the things that you really want to do, right? You will make time for them.
Or I have time.
So one is just being honest.
Yes.
Being honest
Yes.
with the child, the employee, whatever it is. This is not my top priority. You are not my top priority right now.
Ouch.
I know it's a nasty little truth.
Oof.
But I will make time for you later. Make in the minute, even though I don't have time, like you are not my priority right now, can hurt.
Yes.
When you hear someone say they will make time for you, how does that make you feel?
Oh, like juicy.
Oh my
Juicy.
God. Like with anything, but I will make time for you. You will?
I know.
It's like the most magical thing a person can do is make time for you. But guess what? Everybody has the ability to make time for what they want to make it for.
Meaning you are a priority.
It's all about priority.
Yes.
So as you transition your life into living from a more Einstein approach, you are constantly reprioritizing where you choose to make time. If you are the source of it, you can make as much as you want of it to spend where you want to.
Beautiful.
So if I say, oh, I really want to do that thing, I just don't have time. The truth is I just don't want to do it. It's nothing to do with time. I don't want to do it.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Then don't do it, right? That's okay. That's a boundary.
Right.
I can set that. I can use that boundary. But that is nothing to do with the clock. That is
So it's almost like
internally.
we use time as a scapegoat
Oh,
to justify
100%.
our perspectives, our priorities, our wants and desires. So we've created almost like this paradigm of time
Yep.
so that we can excuse ourselves from the things that we do not deem worthy.
We can place the blame on external forces.
Right. And it's not a person.
Yep.
But then it creates a box.
Yep.
That is just becomes our own like prison cell.
It sucks to live in that place.
Right.
And we all live there. I still live there. But every time I refocus and get in the flow of Einstein time, the anxiety drops, the joy increases, the laughs increase, the serendipities and coincidences that you, as you said in the beginning, well, that just might have been coincidence, right? I don't know. I've had enough of them by now to really feel that these things attract. My ability to live in this flow state of creating my own time brings to me an awareness of serendipities, opportunities, coincidences that wouldn't be there otherwise.
I suppose because when you live in a box, if I use my box analogy and how I see it visually, you're only going to bump up against the four walls of the box and the roof and the floor of the box. And you're not going to see outside that there's a big other vastness out there. But if the box doesn't exist and you look around, you're like, whoa, so much more.
And I want that. Yes. And I will make time to go get it.
Yes. So it just like opens you up to other possibilities that were not in your sphere of like influence previously.
Yes.
I.e. your box.
Absolutely. It's a concept that I feel like being able to put language around it that is directly related to science is oddly been effective for me and others in understanding it.
Yes.
I by no means invented this concept, living on Einstein time. Again, Gay Hendricks wrote about it in a book that we love.
Yes.
But what I want to do is continue to share about it as a way that people can incrementally change their life by just re-adopting a relationship with time that is rooted in you make the time. Time is not forced upon you. It doesn't live outside of you. So the basic concept of all of this is it comes from within, and you have choice and free will in the matter, and you live each moment between now and when it's over by your own clock.
Right.
And with that knowledge, and you stop shaming, blaming, and allowing the Newtonian forces to rob you of that, freaking amazing things can happen.
I mean, if you, yes, I feel like if anyone has ever been, like you were saying, 15 hours and goes by in 5 minutes, they will understand what we're talking about. But really, I think sometimes maybe this Einstein time theory, when you maybe you're looking at like the episode and you're like, what the heck? These guys, do they think they're scientists? So what you're doing is trying to, or what you have successfully done in this podcast is you have made it accessible, right? Made it
this is accessible to everybody.
Let's
it's a
bring
mindset
this in the
shift.
reels, like the reels of life, right?
Yeah. So simple things. So the best way to actually make this, to introduce this into life is what's called a time diet. So you're going to go on a time diet.
Audit.
Yeah. And every time you find yourself speaking negatively or scarcely about time, you're going to stop. You're going to draw attention to and acknowledge.
Okay.
So as you leave here today, oh, shoot, I'm going to be late. I don't have time to get to my next stop. Wait a minute. Did I really just say that and think that? If I let go of that thought and I just go forward in my path to where I'm headed next, I don't know what's going to happen. But when I get there, I might find out, oh, I'm early. Everybody else was late too.
Yes.
I arrived first. This happens when you draw awareness to this, it's crazy how you suddenly see this happening in real life. But you cannot predict the future. You cannot go to the past. So just go in that moment and see what happens next. But the serendipity that can come because you arrived at that exact place and time when you did, that's the exciting part that I felt it, I've experienced it, I've shared it with others, and I feel compelled to continue to speak about it and encourage people. So take that time diet and just like start calling yourself out every time you're like, knock it off.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Right.
Well, if you're so anxious about going there, should you just don't go?
Right.
What expansion do you feel if you do put a boundary and say, no, I'm not going?
Right.
Because I don't want to make time for it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying to yourself about it. Right. So that's the way to kind of open the door to this.
Okay.
And then to just more and more start easing yourself into, I'm going to be where I'm meant to be when I get there. I'm going to enjoy the journey along the way. I'm going to seek things that bring me joy. And I'm going to really listen to that. What do I want to make time for?
Mm-hmm.
It will be
It's magical.
a huge transition and transformation. And I had to laugh because on that trip, I realized, and this is a subsequent follow-up podcast, but a very similar relationship exists with money.
Oh, gosh.
So now I'm calling that trademark Einstein's dime.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
It is actually quite similar on the relativity of money and your relationship to finance.
Like scarcity. It's really all about scarcity, like what you were saying.
Yep.
Yes.
So my friends by the end of the trip were like all about Einstein time. And then I was like, and next up, ladies, Einstein's dime. So I just have to end with that today. Follow-up episode, we'll talk about Einstein's dime and your relationship with money. But I just encourage anybody listening to this to go on that little bit of a time diet, start cutting back on your Newtonian thinking, start expanding your universe and shining like a bright star that you are, spending every minute that you have just being present and making time for what brings you joy.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. And it really, when you were describing it, and I have read the book just as many times as you have, it sunk in.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yay.
It landed.
Yeah.
Because
it takes a little bit.
Sometimes these vague concepts or ideas that were created by minds who think very vastly differently than I do, you need to hear them a lot and understand them from a unique perspective. So I appreciate you sharing your perspective today.
It was fun. I am obviously passionate about this topic and I want to make it accessible.
Yes.
And I think that that's why I've, feel compelled to share it here and in other areas. I want it to be accessible because it's one of the delights of my life to tap into these moments.
To me, it makes sense given your journey with scarcity mentality and kind of eliminating some of those beliefs that you've carried, that time would also be something that you would run through this lens of not not having scarcity.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you.
Well, with that, with heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I am Monique.